What is up? What is up? Welcome back to another NFL Rundown. This is the Week 2 Props edition, and I have the prop genius with me. Tyler, how you doing today?
I'm good. We're going to go over some props here, find us some winners, touch on some sides and totals because I wasn't here Tuesday to do that. And let's find some more winners this week.
All right, and real quick before we get into giving out all the winners, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you haven't already, head on over to runpurebets.com to check out all the best in sports gambling information. If you're not already a member, use the promo code BETS25 off to become a member and get 25% off your first month. That being said, Tyler, so far the NFL season's been great, right? Every primetime game's been fun. The Sunday games were a great time. Really, the only thing that has been good for me is the picks. I was on the Washington football team last night. I talked about it on Tuesday. And so, when we get things wrong, we say, where do we get things wrong? Well, the pass rush wasn't as good as we expected. We kind of compared them to the Broncos defense. Great pass rush. They seemed to get tired there in the second half. Secondary didn't seem to hold up. The football team ends away squeaking away with a win, but talk about variance, right? I mean, you can even argue whether or not that guy was offsides or not. It definitely could have gone either way. I didn't really know what to make of this game. I mean, after two of these now, with seeing Washington kind of get carved up on defense, are we ready to downgrade the football team defense, or what were your takeaways from this game?
I think their front seven's still really good, but I definitely think their secondary's taking a step back. I mean, we watched Herbert convert how many third downs on them in week one?
Mm-hmm.
And then we watched Daniel Jones just have his way with this secondary in week two. So I think it's their secondary taking a step back. I mean, that front seven was still all over him in that first half of the game. I just think, like you said, they got tired towards that second half. But I'd say their defense is going from like a top 3 to like maybe like bottom side of the top 10. So they're still really good, but definitely some regression there.
Yeah, and Daniel Jones must have watched the Monday show where we all doubted him and basically had already kicked him out of the door for the season. He looked pretty good last night. What was your takeaways from Daniel Jones going over on most of his props?
I mean, he looked pretty good. His rushing yards, I mean, he looked like the running back out there. I think he almost cracked 100 yards. I think he was in the high 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, he still fumbles the ball here and there. He still throws some picks. So it's still Daniel Jones we're talking about.
Yeah, and the one thing that I definitely got wrong is I thought that offensive line was just going to get eaten up. It wasn't the best in run blocking, but they definitely gave him some time back there. So credit to the Giants for getting that. But boy, they got to feel terrible flying back to New York 0-2 after that performance. So those were our quick takeaways from last night. Let's get into this Sunday's game. So because you weren't here Tuesday, we'll start with the sides and totals, and then we're going to go over what you think the best props for the games are. So the first game I have up is our teams. The Las Vegas Raiders are going to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's minus 5.5 right now. I see a total at 47. That implies that the Steelers will score 26.25 and the Raiders 20.75. I don't know how that didn't come to 27, but regardless, what are your thoughts on this game? And hey, after that crazy win the Raiders had Monday night, are they going to keep it going?
I don't think so. I think this is personally that spot where the Raiders are coming off that big, exciting win, and they lay that egg and they just get blasted. But Pittsburgh, I mean, they won their game, but they didn't really impress me. Their offense still looks like it sputtered a little bit. I mean, Ben didn't have that good of a game. Neither did the receivers, but they blocked that punt. They get that touchdown. That kind of flipped the momentum of the game. And their defense just had Josh Allen and shackles that game. I mean, he couldn't do anything. But as for this game, I think Derek Carr gets rushed by TJ Watt a lot. I mean, we see Baltimore's pass rush in that backfield. So I think Pittsburgh wins this game by at least a touchdown.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. The letdown spot seems quite evident. Not to mention they played overtime, and then the adrenaline of thinking you won the game and then having to go back out there. Obviously, they got it done, but that's got to be emotionally and physically draining. Not to mention the extra play, short week, traveling to Pittsburgh, one of the toughest places to play in the league. Roethlisberger hasn't been that good against the Raiders. He's actually 0-4 playing in Oakland. I don't think they've ever played in Vegas. And then he's 2-1 in Pittsburgh. And I actually remember the one loss. We had that Gradkowski guy at quarterback. That was a while ago. So
You guys beat
that'll
us
be
with Terrell
interesting.
Pryor at quarterback, too.
Oh yeah. I thought he was going to be good. All right, let's go over some numbers real quick. So Carr, hit some overs, but did have overtime. He actually currently leads the league in passing yards with 435, threw for 2 touchdowns. On the other side, Roethlisberger, his average depth of target was only 6.9 yards last year, and that's low for him. He's got the big arm. It was only 5.9 yards average depth of target against Buffalo. So he only had 189 passing yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. On the ground, we talked about it before. Najee Harris, he had 58 Pittsburgh snaps, but he only had 49 yards from scrimmage, 17 touches. And then Darren Waller's everything that you have to say there for the Raiders targets. 19 targets, just ridiculous. 105 yards, a touchdown. And the receivers that I talked about, boy, for 3 quarters, like pretty stupid. But in the fourth quarter, they came alive. Brian Edwards, someone we talked about, 4 or 5 targets for 81 yards. Those were all in the fourth quarter, it felt like. Ruggs caught 2 of 5 for 46. One of them was a really big catch, though. Renfro, 9 targets, 6 catches, 70 yards. And then we look at the Steelers. Deontay Johnson had 5 receptions, but only for 36 yards. Chase Claypool, 45 receiving yards. Those are the numbers. What are your thoughts when you're looking at props for this game?
My thoughts for props for this game, I mean, I kind of want to lean towards Najee Harris. His numbers are still pretty high, though, because they know he's going to get just every snap as a running back on this team, because he literally played every snap in week 1. And I just can't get behind that offensive line and opening up holes for him, especially with Max Crosby on the other side. I mean, we've seen him chasing Lamar Jackson around all night on Monday night.
Yeah.
But you talked about Deontay Johnson. I think he bounces back this week. I think that 67.5 on his receiving yards is a little low. You said he caught, 5 balls in week 1? But he was targeted, I think, 10 times. I think that 6.5 on his receptions is a little low, because Ben loves to hit him with them short slants. And I think him to score a touchdown at plus 170 is a really good value. I mean, he is the number 1 receiver on this team, and they have Juju valued higher than him, which I think is wrong.
Yeah, interesting week for Juju as well. What were his numbers? I didn't give those out in the other one. Average depth of target was up a little bit. It was 6.3 yards, but really not much. He was 452, four catches, 52 yards, 8 targets, no touchdowns. So ball got spread around, not a lot. But as bad as this Bills defense is, I think the Raiders will still be a slight downgrade. Although I have to admit that the additions at linebacker of KJ Wright and Denzel Perryman definitely won him the game. KJ Wright had that one big 4th down stop where he's in the backfield, and we haven't seen that for years watching the Raiders play. A little bit of concern that I think would help your Najee Harris is Gerald McCoy going out. I thought he was great against the run, not much against the pass. But boy, that's a tough loss for them right off the bat. But every team has injuries, so we'll see how they deal with it. So you like Deontay Johnson over 6.5 receptions and anytime touchdown.
And
so
over 67.5 yards.
Okay, I'm going to try and put him in the chat today rather than bet them all myself. And we'll see if that helps with everyone getting all these great props, because you are giving them out fast and furious, and per your track record, right? More likely than not, they're winners. Let's move on to the next game. This was a game that, boy, I'm reconsidering my stance. Unfortunately, I already bet it because I knew the line would move against me, so I got a nice number here. But I'm talking about the San Francisco 49ers, who are now laying 3.5. It was -3 at the opener. I hit it at the opener. But boy, the more I look into this game, the more I'm kind of reconsidering my position, just with the way that the Philadelphia Eagles dominated the line of scrimmage against the Falcons. My original handicap was that the 49ers are so much better on the line of scrimmage that, it's going to be a whole different ball game, and they're not going to look as dominant. But boy, you look at the rosters, and it seems like they do have the personnel to dominate anyone. So now at 3.5, totals 50, and that's implied Vegas totals, 49ers 26.75. Eagles 23.25. What do you think of this game as far as the side and total, Tyler?
I mean, this is one of them games I marked this week that I don't want anything to do with.
That's
the
fair.
Spread seems short to me. The 49ers secondary is already obliterated with injuries. I mean, they lost Verrett. They lost a couple other guys in that secondary. So, I mean, Hurts could have himself a day here, but I think the front seven just gets to him for that defense. And so I think in the end, San Fran gets the job done, but I'm not sure they cover the 3.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a stay away from me on the side. And as for the total, it's right in that range where I don't want anything to do with it either.
Well, let's get to the money then. Let's get to the props. I'll give out some numbers, and then you can give out the winners. Jimmy G, 17 of 25 for 314 yards. That works out to 12.4 yards per pass attempt. That is not bad at all. Jalen Hurts was definitely one of the great success stories of Week 1. 27 of 35 for 264 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 62 yards on 7 carries. Boy, if you drafted him late rounds in your fantasy, you definitely have to be happy with that. I don't think that we're going to target a Niners running back, so I'll just pass over that because it's hard to tell who's going to get the carries there. On the Eagles side, you got Miles Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell there. Sanders played 2/3 of Philly's offensive snaps 15 times. For 74 yards, and he caught 4 or 5 targets for 39 yards. Gainwell actually carried 9 times for 37 yards. He had a touchdown, and he caught 2 of 3 targets for 6 yards. And on the wide receiver, Brandon Ayuk, that's been the big story in San Francisco all week. It seems like he's in the doghouse, but Shanahan complains it's just injuries. And then on the Eagles side, Devonte Smith was a great story. 6 catches, 71 yards, and a touchdown. Quez Watkins was someone we were high on as a low-value DFS play. Only 3 catches for 23 yards. George Kittle always seems to be a good play. 4 catches for 78 yards. And then Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz. Goddard had 73% snap share. Ertz had 58% share. Goddard 4 or 5 for 42 yards and a touchdown. Ertz had 2 targets, caught them both, 34 yards. What are your thoughts on props?
Looking at props in this game with that secondary being banged up, I mean, you said what Hurts went for almost 270 passing, and then he put 60 on the ground.
Yeah.
So I mean, this 291.5 on pass plus rushing yards for Jalen Hurts seems a little low, especially.
I like the combo.
Yeah, the combo. I love the combo here because then I think you really only need about 250 out of him in the air because he's going to get you the ground yards, and if he breaks one on the ground, that's even better for the prop. So I love that prop over.
What was the number so I can put it in the chat?
291.5.
All right, I like it.
And then looking at the receivers, I mean, it's kind of hard on the San Francisco side without the Ayuk use because we don't know if Debo's just going to get peppered with the ball again. But I mean, even if Ayuk's in there, doesn't Debo over 58.5 yards seem a little bit short?
Especially because, you know what, I thought that Atlanta was going to take advantage of this Philadelphia secondary, even in the handicap, and I picked the Falcons. I said, hey, they're going to have problems on the line of scrimmage. I just think that their skill players will be able to beat the Eagles' skill players. That wasn't the case, but, the 49ers just aren't going to give the free path to the quarterback like the Atlanta Falcons did. With a little extra time, those corners could be exploited, so I do agree with you that Debo might be worth a look here.
Yeah, I think Debo over 58 is definitely worth a look. And then, I mean, they have the Elijah Mitchell, their running back they ran out there last week as the highest anytime touchdown here at plus 105. And you can get Debo at plus 150. I think that's value. I mean, Jimmy G seemed to love him more than George Kittle in week 1. We could see more of that in week 2. He catches all those underneath routes and even comes across the middle and takes some of George Kittle's work.
All right, I love those plays. So let's move on to the next game. Oh boy, man, I wanted to be on. That's where I missed you on Tuesday, so we can continue our debate over Baker Mayfield.
Here you go.
I found a couple great stats for you, Tyler. Right? You said other than the interception at the end, right? Baker played great. First of all, they only scored 7 points in the fourth quarter, and this is the one that I found. Since 2018, Baker's had the most fourth quarter interceptions of any quarterback. All right. That being said, let's move on. Minus 12.5. The total's 48. That means that Vegas thinks that the Browns will score 30.25. The Texans 17.75. What do you think of this game? Do the Browns bounce back and cover here?
I mean, it's a huge number. I don't want to lay it, but if you had to pin me down to a side, I think they cover it. Because I think once they get out to a lead, Chubb's just going to eat this team alive, and they'll have Hunt in there too. And they'll just pound them on the ground, and that'll just give them another touchdown or 2. So I think they cover it, but I ain't laying that big number.
Yeah, I won't either. What about a first half look?
I don't mind that, especially after the way they lost last week's game. I could definitely see them coming out fired up and just taking it right to them in the first half.
Yeah. And as much as I like to make fun of Baker, right? I mean, this is a defense that he's just built to feast against, especially with all those weapons. What's up, Gregory Russo? Glad you could join us. Couple numbers in this game. Taylor was 21 to 33 for 291 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also ran 4 times for 40 yards. What was Baker? Baker had an 11.5 yards per pass attempt. He had 321 passing yards total. All the TDs, though, were runs, right? One was by
they ran
Jarvis
them all in.
Landry. Yeah, so Baker didn't give you the touchdowns there. Let's look at Chubb here. Chug had 2 of the touchdowns there in that first game. And then the Texans, they split all their running backs. I don't know if we'll be looking to attack there. A guy I was high on was Nico Collins, only 3 targets. Was a little disappointed on that for the Texans. Brandon Cooks had 132 yards. He's still good, even though he's kind of fallen from we don't talk about him very much. Jarvis Landry had 5 targets, 71 yards, and ran that touchdown in that we talked about. And it looked like they were splitting the snaps on the tight end there, with David Njoku getting more snaps than we thought. What did you look at for props in this game?
For props in this game, I mean, I'm going right to the running backs.
Mm-hmm.
Chubb's 85.5 rushing yards. I like the over there. Kareem Hunt's 39.5. I like the over there. I kind of like the under on Baker. It's at 8.5. I just don't think you see him run the ball at all this game, because they should take a lead and they shouldn't have to play from behind at all. So guy shouldn't have to use his legs at all. I don't mind that. And then let's see what we can get on anytime touchdowns. I mean, can't really do much with Chubb at -190.
Right.
But I mean, maybe an Austin Hooper plus 260. They get down in the red zone. He hits the tight end for a little short pass.
Okay.
I don't mind that.
All right, let me throw that one in there, and then that's plus 260 on Hooper, right?
Yep.
All right. Yeah. All right. That looks like there's great looks, and I don't think there's anything wrong with just kind of fading this game in general. It's gonna be really weird. Let's find out what Houston's really made of. Tyler, a team that I was high on when we were at the beginning of our things, and then as the preseason continued and the reports came out of camp, and I just kind of went down like those really fun roller coasters, right? And that was the Jaguars and Urban Meyer. The Broncos are -6 in Jacksonville. Talk about a line move, right? This was -2 if you were to bet at preseason, so 4 points adjusted, and I thought it was pretty even. I think it's 2 points for how good the Broncos looked, and then 2 points for how bad the Jaguars looked. I don't know if I can even argue with that. The total's 45 points. That means that the Vegas implied point totals would be Broncos 25.5, Jaguars 19.5. What are your thoughts on the side on this game? I'll tell you what, dude, I had to hold my nose, but I think I'm going to end up back in Jacksonville at home.
I did that. I can't. After we seen Houston pour it on that team.
Yeah.
And they were all over Trevor Lawrence, too. What do you think this Denver defense is going to do to him, Spread? Bradley Chubb, Vaughn Miller, Justin Simmons waiting over the top for him to throw a bad pass. Like, he's just going to – he threw 3 picks last week. I won't be surprised to throw him through 3 more this week.
But, all right. Yeah, so I'll be on an island there, and, if I lose, I won't even – I mean, what am I doing here? Go ahead, though, and talk about the props.
I mean, one thing that sticks out to me right now looking at this board, anytime touchdown scorer, why is Melvin Gordon plus 400? They have Devonte Williams plus 150. I mean, yeah, they'll probably split carries, but Gordon could likely get them goal line carries and punch in at plus 400. I think that's definitely worth a look.
All right, yeah, and you're right. Williams and Gordon played exactly half, so they each had 33 of the 66 snaps. Williams was 14 for 45 yards. Gordon was no more effective, really, until he popped off the 70-yard TD run. That gave him 11 for 101 and that touchdown. But I think you're right. I think that I like. It's going to be opposite of how those results are. I think that Williams has more big play potential, and Gordon
slowly chips away at him.
He's going to be that vulture getting the touchdowns. I'd rather have him between the tackles if I'm running the ball in the red zone with less than 5 yards to go. So what's the number on that? Gordon, anytime TD, plus 400?
Plus 400. I think that's way mispriced.
All right, we're doing that one. Did you have anything else for this game?
I don't mind his rushing yards at 49.5. I think that's low. I mean, yes, he had 110 last week, but just like you said, that 70-yard run jumped that number up. But 49.5 against this defense seems short, especially when they should be playing with a lead most of the game.
Yeah.
And then as for the other side, I mean, looking at these receivers, Laviska Shenault and DJ Chark are both 50.5. Marvin Jones, 56.5. I'd probably have to lean towards taking Chark there at the price at the number they're all at that 50.5. But I wouldn't mind taking Shenault. He seemed to like him too in these games.
Yeah, just to give you some numbers on those props. So Chark had team high 12 targets. He only caught 3 of them. Unbelievable. But
Yeah,
he had 86 yards and a touchdown. That means his average depth of target came out to 16.6 yards. And Chenault was someone that I was going to ask you about if you didn't bring it up. He had 10 targets, 7 catches for only 50 yards. His average depth of target was only 4.1. So as you can see, they got Chark on down the field and they have Chenault working underneath. I wouldn't mind the Chenault over there too. And I think you might be good with the Chark because I'll tell you what, if this defense is as bad as it looked, the Broncos are going to be scoring quickly. That should give Jacksonville offense, even if they're not winning, plenty of time to put up statistics. Did you have anything more for this one, or do you want to move on?
Nope, that's it for that one.
Yeah, I mean, that's not really that much of a fun game. And boy, I holding my nose and making that pick, I'm just, wow. It's just so situational there. And boy, talk about a buy low spot. I don't think a team could look as bad as Jacksonville did in week 1 when you factor in the level of competition. Let's talk about a game, talk about moving 4 points. This one moved 3.5 because it was a pick before the season started. The Saints are now minus 3.5. The total is 44.5. That, comes out to the Saints having 24 and the Panthers 20.5. That's what Vegas is telling us the final score would be. Tyler, this one I flip-flop back and forth, and I think I'm going to completely stay away. I think you can make good arguments for both sides here. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I'm staying away too. I mean, the Saints looked good last week, but 150 yards and 5 touchdowns out of Jameis probably can't replicate that stat line again.
Right.
And then as for the other side, I mean, Carolina looked good, but they were playing the Jets. So you got to take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, to pin me down to a side, I'd probably take the Saints here.
Yeah, and it's funny. So if you had to pin me down to the side, I would take Carolina, but that's why I stayed away. I'm like, wait a second, we only scored 19 against the Jets.
Yeah, it's like that offense didn't look all that good.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Jets do have potential, and I think the sellout will get that team going in the right direction. But the defense is still obviously a weakness, and to only put 19 up makes it hard to back them. But, like with that Jaguars play, sometimes you got to back these teams that you don't want to. Why don't you go ahead and give me the props, and then I'll give you some numbers on the guys that you're talking about.
Yeah, but back to looking at this game, I mean, I don't have any touchdown scorers yet, but I wouldn't mind getting back on Juwan Johnson. We got on him in the live show, and he scored 2 touchdowns.
Yes.
Jameis
his catch
over
radius
one
is ridiculous.
Yeah, his catch radius is ridiculous. They're running him out of the tight end spot. Jameis' passing touchdowns 1.5. I don't mind.
That's weird. Coming off 5, right? That's really weird.
Yep. My favorite
2.5.
My favorite though, McCaffrey over 42.5 receiving yards. I think that's really low for a team that could be playing from behind a lot. He's cleared 70 yards in his last 2 games against the Saints, and that was with terrible quarterback play. I mean, Darnold's not the best, but he's still going to get that ball to him in space. And he went for 89 last week.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So last week, McCaffrey was definitely worthy of being a number 1 pick in your year-long fantasy draft. So 21 carries for 98 yards, 9 receptions for 89 yards. So what's that? 30 touches there. You got to like that. So yeah, and I agree. I think that Winston's probably the best bet. So I'll throw that one in the chat. So what exactly ones would you want in the chat?
The Winston one and the McCaffrey one we'll go with.
All right. So the Winston is over
1.5 touchdowns.
Okay. I like that one the best. I mean, after 5, and then what was that one?
McCaffrey over 42.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, I really like that one a lot too. So this is great, Tyler. I'm so glad that you are here giving out these winners, and then I get to just channel my inner Holden and just host this up. All right, so Bogey's asking that we type the game in the chat, so I will do that right now. The next game we are going to do is the Rams and the Colts. So we will do that. I'll put that in the chat right now, and then I will give you these numbers. So Tyler, the Rams are now -4. I think that opened at 3. Doesn't surprise me that the Rams took money after the way that they looked. A true Super Bowl contender last week. And then, of course, we saw that the Colts did have problems. This total is 47.5, which implies that the Rams will have 25.75 points and the Colts will have 21.75. Tyler, what are your props for this? Or no, side and total first. What do you think?
I think Jay said it best on the Picking Winner show with this game.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be the square spot of the week, but
Yeah.
give me the Rams here. I just
I
don't
agree.
see how the Colts win this game. Banged up offensive line still.
Well, they're getting their guys back.
They just announced that they lost a tackle for this week, and Xavier Rhodes is still out.
Okay, but I saw that Quentin Nelson and Eric Fisher will play.
Yeah, I seen those guys are back, but there's another guy that's now out that was on that starting line. So
All right.
Down another guy. Aaron Donald and them guys should just be backfield all over Carson Wentz. So no chance I'm backing the Colts here. I think Cooper Kupp goes off. Give me the Rams here. They win this game by, I think, 10 points at least.
All right, so I'm with you on the side, right? And it's like, yeah, maybe square, but you got to remember, like they say, oh, fade the public. The public still goes like 46 to 48%, right?
That
so
and it's week 2. These books haven't fully reacted to who's the good and who's the bad teams yet because nobody really knows outside of like the bottom dweller teams. Like
yeah, and even then, right? Like we wrote off the Giants as having this terrible offensive line, and they're going to give up so many sacks, and then they held up against one of the best defensive lines in football last night, right? So
Yep.
You're right about these overreactions. Let's go ahead and talk about the props, and then I'll give you some numbers of the players you talked about.
Let me pull them up real quick.
All right, yeah. While you do that, I did say that you mentioned Robert Woods. Kupp last week caught 7 of 10 targets for 108 yards and a TD.
That's a guy we're looking to get right back on because all they talked about that game was how much of the repertoire that Stafford and Kupp built.
Yeah.
And we watched the year before where Goff would pick and choose each game where it's like, all right, Kupp's my guy this game. Then Woods goes for 100. I don't think we see that anymore. Mm-hmm. I think Kupp's going to be the number one guy here from here on out. 67.5 seems a little short on his yards. I think that's definitely worth a look.
Let me throw that in the chat. Yeah, and to mention, Kupp had 10 targets. Woods only had 4. And I'll tell you what, that they were just wide open. I mean, boy, that Bears secondary, to see how far it's fallen off since that great year of 2018. So we will see. I do rate the Colts higher defensively than the Bears, but not much. So you like Kupp. What was it over there? What was the number yards?
67.5.
All right, and let's get that now because no one's betting that under. So that one you got to bet right now. What else do you like?
Another one I like is Nyheim Hines over 25.5 receiving yards. I think the Colts are playing from behind here. He's a running back and catch a lot of balls out of the backfield. And with that pass rush coming in there so fast, I think he's going to have to dump a lot of these off pretty quick.
And what was the number?
25.5.
All right. And I can see where you're going there. Looking at last week, Hines had 8 targets, caught 6 of them, 48 yards. So it seems to me that Taylor's going to be the workhorse on first and second.
His receptions might be the better look than spread. It's 3.5 plus 110.
All right. Let me put that one in there too then.
If he's getting 8 targets, I mean, he gets targeted that much. Again, that 3.5 could be a gift.
Yeah, I think so. And my point was basically that I do believe that Hines is going to be a third down back. I think he's more versatile out of the backfield, and I don't think that, unless it's 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3, and they know they're going to throw, I think I'd rather have Hines out there than Taylor. Give me Taylor on first and second to get those big chunks of yards, hit the hole. But I think Hines is going to be the guy they go to on 3rd down. Any more for this game?
Nope, that's it. But I got news out of a different game that just came up.
Give me the news.
I know our favorite team's playing. Josh Jacobs rolled inactive for Sunday.
Wow. That will give you a half a point, but I'll tell you what, watching Kenyon Drake,
he looked pretty good.
He looked really good. I think that where you'll now have the drop off is from Drake to whoever the third receiver is. I think it's Peyton
Is it still Jalen Richard?
No, I think he's gone. I think it's Peyton Barber. I'm not sure though. I'll have
he's
to
not
double
the
check.
worst.
Yeah,
he's no Josh Jacobs, but
yeah. Yeah, but Jacobs definitely wasn't 100%, and you could see it. And he managed to get 2 touchdowns regardless. But I thought that Drake's, where he really showed and impressed me, was his ability in pass coverage with the reworked offensive line. How nice is it to have a veteran back there that can help you when guys are getting beat? And I felt they did a good job of identifying the blitzers, and Drake's blocking there was pretty darn good. So I think that there'll be a line overreaction to that, especially with Jacobs not being 100%. So we'll keep an eye on that and monitor it and maybe circle back at the end of the game. Let's talk about the Bills going against the Dolphins here. The Bills minus 3.5, total 47.5. Bills are 25.5 implied Vegas total. Dolphins 22. I like Miami here. This is one of my favorite plays, and I know I'm being contrarian, and Cheese Delgado is going to hate me and say that I hate Josh Allen. I just think that a northern team going down to play in that heat, and I don't think this Miami defense is no joke, right? I think Xavier Howard can take Stephon Diggs out. And then you got Byron Jones on Cole Beasley there. It's going to be incumbent on them to run. I don't trust them to get a nice rushing attack besides anyone from Josh Allen. Could be a close game. Even if the Bills win, I'll love having that 3.5 points in your pocket because we've seen on the last 2 primetime games how good does it feel to have the points in your pocket with about 4 or 5 minutes to go as the game. It becomes a game of field goals and no longer touchdowns. So I like the Dolphins here, but I know this is a pretty unpopular pick. What do you think?
I mean, you're finally on the Dolphins train spread. I love it.
Yeah,
I started driving this train before the year started, and now I
you
got
did.
somebody on the train with me. I like it.
Okay.
But this is the game. I mean, I think the only way you can play this game is the Dolphins because
Okay.
you really want to lay 3 points on the road in a
It's three and a
divisional
half
game.
now. It's three and a
Yeah.
half
All right.
now.
So it's off the key number.
Yeah.
You're in Miami. It was going to be 9,000 degrees down there. Yeah, Buffalo's beat up on Miami lately, but Miami already has a game up on them in the division. You could technically go up 3 games right here if you beat them because not only do you go up 2 games in the standings, you get the tiebreaker. So you're technically up 3 with only 2 weeks in. So look for them to fight as hard as possible in this game. So I think the 3.5 is the only way to play it. And just like you said, they can't really run the ball outside of Josh Allen. The ball hawks on this defense, I think, can cause them some problems to where they are forced to try and run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And that could spell doom for this team. And if Tua and them could get that offense rolling, Jalen Waddle gets into space, I think they can win this game.
Yeah, and I think a key if you're watching this game and betting live was against the Steelers. The Steelers were able to get a rush with only 4 people, right? So that means not only was Allen getting pressure, he had to beat 7 guys in coverage. I don't know if the Miami's got that same front 4. I don't know if they are. So if Allen starts beating this blitz, I might be ripping this ticket up and be pissed off again. And then one other thing to say, you talked about the Bills beating up on the Dolphins. Well, that's another weather one, right? Because when was that? That was December in Buffalo. So you got these warm weather guys, right? They've been running around in 70-degree weather all day, right? Living the great Miami life. Going up north, they're not ready for it. And I think the same thing happens in reverse. Now you got these cold weather guys going down to the heat, the humidity of Miami. It's just such a great home court advantage there, or home field. I'm sorry, NBA's in my head at 24/7. But that's where I'm looking on this game. Why don't you talk to me about some props, and then I'll give out some numbers to go along with the players that you're choosing.
I mean, just to touch on some anytime touchdowns right off the bat. I mean, Jalen Waddle plus 225, Mike Gesicki plus 230, Davonte Parker plus 210. That's going to be his 3 main targets outside of Myles Gaskins out of the backfield. So I think all 3 of those guys are worth a look.
Okay.
So
that's Waddle, Gesicki. Sorry if I spelled it wrong, guys.
And Waddle, Gesicki, and Davonte Parker.
So here's the deal. Parker will be going against Tre'Davious White. That doesn't worry you?
Not really. I mean, White looked good in week 1, but I still think he can catch a touchdown on him. He's no Jalen Ramsey that's just going to dog him.
Yeah, that's
pull
true.
Him back up.
So I got Waddle plus 220. What was Gesicki?
Plus 230, and then plus 210 on Parker.
Yeah, if I were to take one out, I would take out Parker. But to be fair, Parker has done well against Tre'Davious White in the past. So, maybe that's just a nice matchup. So going over some numbers with the guys that you just mentioned right there. Waddle had 4 or 5 targets, 61 yards, and a touchdown. Oh, Will Fuller's out, so that's going to help us a little bit. Davonte Parker, so against Buffalo last year, Parker had, this is in 2 games though, 12 of 22 targets for 169 yards and a TD. So I guess it's not that crazy, that he would do that. Gasecki, I'm trying to find his numbers. He was only in 39% of Miami's offensive snaps week 1. Durham Smith actually had 70% of the snaps. So maybe that'd be a concern there. If you don't want to play all 3 of those, my favorite is Waddle. If you only were to play one, what's your favorite?
I'd probably be Waddle.
Okay, so we'll put that in the chat. Waddle's the favorite. Do you have any other props from that game?
One I was looking at is Myles Gaskins over 3.5 receptions. You're getting it at plus 120. He caught 5 balls last week. And with the pass rushes this Buffalo team has, I mean, their defense didn't look very good in week 1, but their front seven's probably the stronger part of their unit.
Okay.
I could see Tua dumping a lot of balls off quick here, and Gaskins going to be that guy.
What was that number again?
3.5. Plus 120.
Yeah, and just to go over Gaskins real quick, what were some of his numbers last week? Gaskins had 54% of the snap share. He had 14 touches total for 49 yards on 9 carries, and it caught all 5 of his targets for 27 yards. So just like you earlier explained, he's obviously the check down back when things go wrong. And did you hear the guys talking about Tua, the guy that made the interception on the Patriots, and saying that after one read, he basically just chucks it up there? What did you think of that?
I mean, you know how the defensive backs are. They all talk.
I know. All right. I just had to throw that out there because, I mean, a lot of these, they don't really catch my eye. But you give me a quote like that.
If you go read them like that after every play, shouldn't you be right on the ball every play or calling it out before the play starts?
Yeah, I know, huh? Like the old Cam Newton one where he goes, "You've been watching film, huh? You've been watching film." That was pretty cool. All right. Speaking, well, Cam Newton's not in the league, but his former team still is. The New England Patriots are now -6 against the Jets. We talked about the Jets a little bit earlier. The total is only 42.5, which means that if you go through implied Vegas point totals, it's Patriots 24.25, Jets 18.25. Mack Jones 29 of 39 for 289 yards to start the season. What are your thoughts on this game?
I think this is just a Patriots smash spot. Everyone's trying to bring them down a little bit with that loss they took last week. I just think the Dolphins are a lot better than people think. And I think they're the second best team in that division with the Patriots being third. But I just think you watch them obliterate this Jets team who lost their best player in Mekhi Becton last week.
Yeah.
So this pass rush is going to be all over him. I think the Patriots will also be able to just run the ball at will here to where you won't have to see Mack Jones really go out of his element much and throw the ball more than 30 times. So give me the Patriots here. I think they cover the 6. I think they win the game by like 2 touchdowns.
All right, yeah, I was looking at it that way too, and now that it's up to 6, I think there's also some teaser potential. Maybe you mix them with the Broncos, or you bring the Bengals up. So a lot of ways to attack this game. But when we're looking at props, how do you want to attack them? Give me some names, and then I'll give you some numbers.
I mean, I see Damian Harris's anytime touchdowns plus 105. I wouldn't mind that. And this Ramondre Stevenson, the guy who's getting some of his carries out of the backfield. I mean, we know New England just kind of plugs and plays running backs. He's plus 550 to score a touchdown. I could definitely see him poaching one on the goal line like we've seen Latavius Murray do on Monday night. So I think that's definitely worth a look. We talked about Mack Jones and him having just more of like a calm game and not having to do much here. He threw 39 passes in week 1. But they were also playing most of that game from behind and trying to take the lead. His passing attempts this week's 31.5. I think he goes under that. I think you see him throw like 27 passes today. Because the moment they can establish the run, they're just going to keep hammering him down the middle.
All right. I agree with all that, and I think I'm going to be on you on the Jets side as well. Any more before we move on to the next game?
No, that's it. I was going to look at a James White, but he's more of like his game script when they're playing from behind. So I really don't want anything to do with that in the game. I think they could win by a blowout.
All right. Let's talk about the Bengals and the Bears. Actually, the Bengals are taking money, so they are a popular public dog this week. It opened at 3, and I thought everybody was going to be on the Bears, so I bet it. How pissed am I that it moved off a key number? I would double down, except for does anyone want to double down with Andy Dalton? No, it's like doubling down with like a 15 in blackjack. So I will stay away from that and just hoping they cover the original 3. The total's 44.5. That means that Vegas thinks that this game will be Bears 23.5, Bengals 21. What are your thoughts?
This is a weird game to me. I keep hearing a lot of people say the Bears are the side, the Bears are the side.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't argue that it's not, but at the same time, I don't want to go against this offense that could be one of the high-powered ones in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen, I mean, yes, the Rams are a better team than Cincinnati, but are their offensive weapons better outside of Stafford? Like, would you take Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd over Darrell Henderson, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and Van Jefferson? Probably, right?
Yeah, but I'll take McVay with a bunch of guys over Zach Taylor with those guys.
I can see where you're coming from there, but I just think the talent on the field, like we're going to see Jamar Chase open all week again. So
yeah, I think I can see the ball now. Maybe he's visualizing the stripes.
I feel like that was all like a hey guys, you want to see me get the media worked up?
Dude, he totally played me. He played me, man. He played me. I believed him. I really thought he sucked.
Nothing on the side for me in this game. I could see this game going either way.
All right, and I'll just give you my quick arguments on the Bears side, and then you can give me the winners on the props. So I do think that the Minnesota defensive line is nothing compared to the Bears line. I don't think that Mixon's going to be able to get loose. I think the Bears can still stop the run. You know, I think the weakness is in the secondary. I also think that while the Vikings have one player to get some pressure, Hunter, right? So if you get Hunter taken out, you're not going to get a lot of pressure. I think the Bears have multiple points that they can bring pressure. I think it's going to be a completely different look for Burrow. And if anything, that JJ's constantly harping. If you watch his videos, which I do, right? It's buy low, sell high. What a low point here for the Bears with Andy Dalton looking completely ineffective. The defense just looking terrible. But they're going against the team that both Jay, the Sports Keg, and I believe is going to make the Super Bowl here. Now we're going against, let's be honest, a rebuilding team that squeaked out a win against a Vikings team that looked unprepared. And I'm pissed at myself because I heard all the stuff coming out of training camp, and I just assumed they were going to out-talent them, and they did not. So let's see if the Bears can do it. If I'm wrong, and you're right here on the Bengals, it's going to be because the Bears secondary can't cover those weapons that you talked about. That being said, give me the winning props here, Tyler.
I mean, speaking of those weapons, I think these receivers are pretty high priced in their anytime touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Jamar Chase plus 175, Tyler Boyd plus 230. I mean, T. Higgins plus 165s for the shortest one out of all three of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you can get one of those home.
Yeah, Boyd only had 4 targets for 32 yards in week 1 here, but with everybody open all over the field, it must be tough for Burrow to choose. I mean, it's like you put it on rookie there. Everybody's open. Who do you throw to?
Yep.
So who's your favorite anytime touchdown? Let's just give out one.
Give me Chase, because I still think Higgins draws the number one corner to where Chase is just going to torch the guy, the second guy. And there might even be teams out there. There might even be teams out there that respect Tyler Boyd more and put their number 2 on him, to where now Chase is guarded by the slot guy.
And in the looks, I saw that people did expect Boyd to get the slot, which is Marquis Christian, who's definitely a weakness on that defense. So if you are looking at Boyd there as as a breakout guy, I think that Boyd, especially if you're looking for DFS, you need to get a lower price player in there. I think Boyd, it's got some high upside for you there.
Yeah, I don't mind that look. And then looking at receptions props, Jamar Chase 4.5 at even money. I think that's a winner. He's going to go right back to his guy every week.
Yeah, they love doing that little get the gat celebration too. So, I mean, if I had a cool celebration like that, I definitely want to keep it going. Do you have any on the Bears side?
And then as for the Bears, I mean, David Montgomery, 64.5 rushing yards seems really low after he was able to post 100+ against.
Hey, remember when he looked bad? I mean, like, he looked like a legitimate, like,
I wasn't a fan of him his first couple of years. And then at the end of last year, he made me a fan.
All right.
He started to pick it back up.
I thought he was one of the bright spots for that team when you looked at Sunday night. And So many things went wrong. You go back and you just wonder if Dalton doesn't throw that interception at the very beginning of the game. Do the Bears stay in it? I mean, did the defense just give up
They were
when
in
they
it
say
at
another
halftime,
year?
7-13.
Yeah, they were. They definitely were. So, all right. Did you have anything more from this game, or should we move on?
Just Montgomery's anytime touchdowns at even money. I think that's worth a look.
Yeah, it seems like he's going to get some red zone carries, unless he gets vultured by Fields.
Or Damian Williams is the only other one that can get him.
Yeah, I think they're going to keep going with Montgomery, though. He was playing the goal line. He had most of the goal line snaps or the red zone snaps against Los Angeles, and there's nothing to me that thinks that Nagy would want to go away from him. So now we're going to talk about the Bucs and the Falcons. Let me put that in the chat, and then I will give you these numbers. Buccaneers at the Falcons, one of the largest spreads of the week, minus 12.5. The total's 52. That means the implied Vegas point total is that the Buccaneers win 32-20. I don't know where, whatever. What do you think of this game here? I like the Buccaneers first half.
I agree there. I just think this game is just the Bucs win this game by as many as they want. This is just like the Cleveland game. I just don't see how Atlanta stops this high-powered Tampa offense. They should just have their way. Like, they don't have the corners to cover these receivers. Yet Tampa really can't run the ball, but is Atlanta going to stop anything else they want to do? No. So give me Tampa here in a rout.
All right. Cool. Yeah, I just like the first half because I mean, I am worried. First of all, I think Atlanta will keep trying to push the ball down the field, even if they're down by like 15 or 16. You know what I'm saying? It's just worried that you get backdoored here. And I mean, will Ridley and Pitts stay quiet for that long? And speaking of Ridley and Pitts, who are your props?
Looking at this one, I mean, I think the books really overreacted to Mike Evans having a week one that was a little slow. Because you look at these three receivers' yards props. Chris Godwin, 66.5. Now, this one moved since I woke up today because Antonio Brown was 64.5. He was the second highest to where Godwin was the highest. He's now 70.5. So they've moved him up to the highest receiving total for these receivers. Now, the guy who is technically still the primary number one target in this group, his total set at 54.5 spread. Okay. I think that is entirely way too low for Mike Evans. You look back at his stats and what he's done against the Falcons over the past 4 years. He's had one game under that 54 yards. It was week 17 last year when he played like 11% of the snaps.
Yeah.
So I just think he torches his defense. They have nobody worth a size to guard him. So any ball that's thrown up to him, he's going to go up and get and come down with.
Yeah, I think Tampa's going to be one of those teams that's really tough for year-long fantasy and daily fantasy players to adjust. And we talk about an embarrassment of riches there. When Gronkowski is your fourth option, and what do you have? He had 8 receptions,
90 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. So, I think it's going to be really tough to identify. So I like the way that you're attacking it. Hey, let's take the guy that's undervalued. We talked about JJ buying low. You're buying low on maybe not on a whole team like the Falcons. You're buying low just on one player with Mike Evans. So I like it.
And we've seen also Evans do this thing where he has like not a bad week, but a lower week than what we've seen him do. And then the next week he just explodes for like $130 in the touchdown.
Yeah, and think about from Brady's perspective as well. Probably a little bit incentive to get him involved, right? We want everybody on the same page going forward. Everybody eats, right? We don't want 3 guys over at the buffet and then one guy sitting over with the
you don't want these 2 all-pro receivers watching Antonio Brown get targeted 15 times and they're just standing there like, well, where's ours at?
Yeah, exactly. And I think Antonio, there is a reason he's targeted because he's going against the third cornerback. And 2 to 3 years ago,
I don't mind playing the 54.5 and the 70.5 and leaving Godwin off.
Yeah.
Because he seemed like, I don't know how you want to rank him 1 to 3, but to me, he seems like the most inconsistent one. Like he has these huge games and then he just kind of disappears.
I mean, yeah, and this is where it's tough, and I think you're really going to have to do some scouting and some film study on how you expect the opponents to play him, because if you have a team like the Cowboys were, where they said we're not going to give you the deep ball, and everywhere Evans went, he had the shadow. Well, what does that open up? It's going to open up Brown and Godwin underneath. If you
Yep.
have a team like say when we watched Monday night with the Ravens, right? I mean, they were going cover zero, and they were basically allowing all their players to play man. A game like that, that's where Evans is going to feast because he's just such a matchup nightmare. So big, so fast, right? Brady's not going to throw into double coverage, but in single coverage, I think Evans becomes the most attractive option. And I think Godwin moves down to the third because with Brown's speed and his
And
route
his
running precision.
separation.
Yeah, I mean, he's not even as fast, but he's so precise on his routes.
No, I
And
mean,
him
we
and
seen
Brady
it
have
on
the
Thursday
timing.
night. He hit that route where he looked like it was the go up so far, slow down like you're going to cut to the right, and then just
Yeah.
shoot straight back up the field. And I mean, he opened up 10 yards of separation the moment he started to pick up speed.
Right, and on the Run Pure Sports side, right, I saw a lot of Kyle Pitts and a lot of cores, and he was disappointed. Do you think he bounces back?
I mean, he could, but I'm not a big on him just because of the offense he's in, and Matt Ryan's not going to get any time to throw the ball against this defense. So maybe
Yeah.
wait another week on him.
Yeah, and I'm feeling the same way right now. Dealing with a little plantar fasciitis in my foot, but boy, when you get old fast, and it really feels like Matt Ryan's getting old. I don't think that he's a guy that can make things happen without the pass rush. Like all these hot young quarterbacks are. They can still make stuff happen with their legs. If they don't give him blocking time, this team is in trouble. And we saw the famous picture of him just looking like he was dead on the ground. Right, they're ready to outline the body in chalk. So.
The best part
Again,
about that picture was the picture from behind of the offensive lineman's back where you could see his name.
yeah.
And then they screenshotted his tweet where he's like, my quarterback's going to be upright all day Sunday. And he's standing over top of his quarterback as he looks dead on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, he was wrong, and I was wrong in picking the Falcons. So everything's been great about the NFL so far, but my picks. But we're turning that around this week. Minnesota Vikings, Arizona Cardinals next. Cardinals are now. I don't know. Did this line move with some of the news coming out today? Did you see that they're losing like 3 defensive players? I have it at -4, but I'm going off just an
It's still
old sheet.
4. None of those guys played last week, really. So it's just basically a carryover.
I think Everson Griffin did play, but okay, so the total's 51 points. Implied point totals, that means that they think the Cardinals get 27.5 and the Vikings get 23.5. Talk to me about how you're attacking this side in total.
I think, just like I said earlier, it's still week 2. Books haven't really reacted to who's the good and who's the bad teams yet.
Mm-hmm.
I think Minnesota's one of the bad teams.
Yeah.
So, and I think
we
Arizona,
saw this in preseason, right? They weren't getting along. There's a rift between the coach and the quarterback. That can never be good, right? Justin Jefferson's not not happy with Kirk Cousins already. And I'll tell you what, I mean, what a mistake to give that guy that amount of money. Not that he's a bad quarterback, but he's not worthy of using up all that salary cap space.
yeah.
And you see, as the Vikings have lost the auxiliary players, and without that depth, they just can't get it done. Talk to me about these props.
I mean, looking at the props, I mean, you just got to go right back to Kyler Murray here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe we do another passing plus rushing yards here. It's at 318.5. I mean, that's pretty high, but I think Kyler throws me or maybe 300 here. I mean, this defense they couldn't stop Joe Burrow and them guys. Now you got Hopkins and them coming in.
What was the number there?
318.
I think he can get that just in the air. And then you're right. That's a great one. All right, so we got that one in the chat. What else you got for me?
Let me see. What we got? Hopkins 7.5 receptions plus 105. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we just seen him. He peppers this guy with the ball.
Hopkins had 6 of 8 targets for 83 yards and 2 touchdowns last week.
Yep. So he's gonna get the ball a shit ton.
So what was the total number there?
7.5.
Okay.
And then the only other thing I like is Chase Edmonds over 44.5 rushing yards. Because I think
I was building a DraftKings beforehand, and I thought that he was a nice little value.
Yeah, I think he scores a touchdown probably. I don't have anytime touchdown lines for this game, so I don't know his value there yet. But I think they play with the lead, and I think they're just handing the ball off.
So over
to where you see him and Connor get a ton of work like he did last week. Yep.
All right. There we go. We've got them all there. And so you thought that Arizona covered here, right?
Yeah, I think Arizona covers here.
Yeah, I think the Vikings might.
I think if you played this game in week 8, once like you've seen these teams like play 6 to 7 games, I think this spread's like -6.
Well, I hope the Vikings get smashed so they get completely undervalued. And, even though they're not probably a playoff team, I think they're still going to win a bunch
Just
of
give
games
us
at
a good
home.
number when they play Detroit so we can just hammer that.
Hey, I like that Dan Campbell guy, right? I mean, that guy's got some spunk. Let's move on to the Titans Seahawks. -5.5 for the Seahawks, 54 points. Seattle 29.75, Titans 24.25. So Tyler, like I said, picks haven't been the best, but I'll tell you what, I will pat myself on the back for a couple of them. I told you that I thought Tennessee had the better roster than Arizona, but there was no way I was going to play them because Todd Downing became their offensive coordinator, and I watched him destroy one offense, and now he's doing it again. Running bubble screens when you have Derrick Henry is absolutely stupid. Not taking advantage of A.J. Brown and Julio Jones is absolutely stupid. And letting Chandler Jones get 5 sacks is absolutely stupid. At what point do you not get the guy some help? Your left tackle's not winning that battle, buddy. Give me a running back. Give me a tight end here. You can't just let him get feasted one-on-one. Completely ignorant. It shows to me that he's not watching the game and his inability to adjust. He's playing the game beforehand and he's going off a script. And even if he's not adjusting. I mean, it's just absolutely terrible. Of course, there's nowhere to go from up, but I really think that the Titans are going to throw away a whole season of having a great team because they just hired the wrong guy to run the offense. So with my rant being over, -5.5 and 54, what do you think?
I mean, what a tough spot to come off of that deflating loss they just had to the Cardinals and then have to travel to Seattle and play in that 12th man.
Yeah.
I mean, I just can't see them winning this game.
Right.
I can't see them covering either because the moment they get down, what they do best, running the ball with Derrick Henry, now becomes obsolete because you can't run the ball when you're playing from behind.
Yeah.
So give me Seahawks here. I think they win this game in a rout. And I think you see ESPN talking about if the Titans are going to have a down year after this week.
Yeah, they're going to have a down year because of Todd Downing. What a terrible hire. Give me the props.
One prop I've been waiting for them to post all week, and it's the passing touchdowns for Russell Wilson. Every book I have still has them listed at 1.5. It's -230. Just give me my 2.5 at +110. So because we all know he's throwing 3 touchdowns here.
Okay. Well, that's not up yet, so I won't put that in the chat. What else you got for me?
I like that. I like Chris Carson over 68.5 rushing yards because their backup is out, Rashad Penny.
I thought he was going to be good, dude. He hasn't done anything.
He reminds me of Sony Michel. Comes in the league with all the hype, and then nothing ever comes from it.
Yeah, I think I just like that one game against Army, the bowl game at San Diego State, and I thought he was going to be good, and he's just not. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And then I love, what's his name, DK to score a touchdown here because, I mean, who's covering him for this Tennessee team?
Who's covering him in the NFL in general?
Yeah, that is true.
I mean, the guy looks like a pro wrestler, and he runs like a sprinter. What's the number on that?
I don't have numbers on that one either yet. A couple of these 425 games, I don't have any time touchdown.
So what's the lowest you would play? Anything to -150, or is that too high still?
Nah, I think the lowest you'll see in that game would be Chris Carson, and he'd probably be the guy that's like -150. I think we'll get DK at like -110.
All right, so I'll put anything to -110 in the chat for people who are watching later since we don't have a number for that. Anything else on this game before we move on?
Nope, that's it for that one.
All right, we're going to do the Cowboys and the Chargers. I'll tell you what, Tyler, this was one, when it first came out, I thought I was going to be on the Chargers. And the more I looked into it, I didn't flip sides. I'm not betting the Cowboys, but I'm definitely off of the Chargers, and I have this circled as a stay away right now. A couple things that kept me away is I do think the Cowboys can keep pace with this Chargers offense. I mean, so many weapons, even with Michael Gallup out. CeeDee Lamb is just so impressive. I wish the Raiders would have drafted him instead of Henry Ruggs, but that's another conversation. Of course, Amari Cooper, another former Raider, but some of the best route running in the game. Dak has the talent and the skill to get it there. I like the way that they're using Zeke and Pollard here a little better. And for people who want to run down Zeke, at least he's still like one of the best blockers in the NFL, so he still has a role on this team. Pollard's got you a little more burst. I'm basically just saying a long way that I'm staying away from this game. It's now Chargers -3. The total's 55 points. That it comes out that Vegas implies it that it will be Chargers 29, Titans 26. What do you think of the side and the total?
I think this is one of the toughest games on the board because you look at the Cowboys and it's like, how are the Chargers going to stop that offense?
Right.
You look on the other side, it's the same question. I mean,
Yeah.
when's the last time we seen this Chargers team 100% healthy, even though it's only week 2, come this far into the season? You
Right.
still have your whole roster. So I honestly don't want to pick a side in this game because I think you'll know right off the bat in the first quarter. It's like, all right, this team's about to run away with this game.
Right.
So, I mean, if you had to pin me down, give me Dallas. Because even though it's technically a home game for the Chargers, we all know that stadium's going to be about 70-30 to 80-20 Cowboy fans.
Yeah.
So give me the Cowboys here plus the 3.5.
All right, and here's one thing that they basically, if I want to argue for the Chargers, right? Let's look at it. Did you see this injury report? Randy Gregory's out. DeMarcus Lawrence out.
All right, their defensive line is decimated.
Yeah, Lael Collins out for 5 games of substance abuse. I wonder what he's doing. The last thing I want to see is a coked up offensive lineman. Hope he wasn't hanging out with Michael Irvin. We mentioned earlier Gallup was out, and who was the other offensive tackle? He's not coming back, right?
No, I don't believe so.
A decimated offensive line there if you want to go to the Chargers. But if we've seen before, dude, having the points in the pocket for these close games, I'm fine staying away from it. Give me the props.
The props in this game, I mean, I think it's going to be tough for Eckler not to have a good game here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I see 30.5 on his receiving yards. I see minus 110 to score a touchdown. I think those are both good props right there.
Okay.
His receptions 4.5 at plus money. I think that's worth a look because he's just going to catch all the dump off balls here.
All right, so we got Eckler over 37.5 rushing, right?
Yep.
And then Eckler anytime TD.
Yep. And then Eckler over 4.5 receptions. Now, I hate going this heavy on one guy, but if he stays in the game, I think it's one of them games where you'll see his name at the top of the fantasy list at the end of the night.
All right, and I'll tell you what, DraftKings agrees with you because I think he's the 3rd highest running back in the NFL for the DraftKings pricing this week. So they expect a big game out of him. You expect a big game out of him. He had carried 15 times for 57 yards and a touchdown. And I don't have his receiving numbers in front of me. Anything else?
No, that's it for this game. I mean, it's kind of hard to target the receivers on the other side because just like you said, Gallup's out.
Mm-hmm.
And now they'll be able to put Casey Hayward on either CD or Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
And they were using Derwin James as almost like a hybrid corner and putting him on guys. Yeah. I could see them moving him down in and just matching both receivers and telling Zeke to beat them in this game.
Yeah, the one I was looking at maybe was CD, 15 targets in the first game, only 7 receptions. But I think that, we've learned one thing from working with the RPS guys is that targets is the important number there.
I mean, it's 5.5 minus 140, so.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting. Could be a slower pace game though. So don't mind staying away from that as well. Let's move on to the evening game, the Chiefs and the Ravens. What do you think of this game, Tyler? The side is minus 3.5. Probably will move to 4. I can't see money coming in on the Ravens. We talked injuries before with the Cowboys. Ravens are having some of the same issues. 55 points there. 29.25 is the implied total for the Chiefs. 25.75 with that looking. And one thing I talked about on the Tuesday show, Tyler, was Ronald Stanley, right? He gave up 9 pressures in week 1 against the Raiders. Gave up 6 pressures in 6 games for the whole season in 2020 for the 6 games that he played.
Was he the guy matched up with Max Crosby, though? I mean, that's a tough matchup. I mean, that dude was chasing Lamar Jackson around at full speed.
Yeah, I mean, he probably was. But my point is he's out. So there's a reason he gave up 9 pressures in 1 game after 6 in 6 games last year, and that's because he was hurt. So now you have Stanley out. We already talked about your friend Villanueva. Boy, talk about giving up on the guy in the right time from the Steelers organization, right? Seems like they knew what they were doing. Here, Baltimore, go ahead and take him away. Now he'll be switching to left tackle to take over Stanley, right? I don't even know who comes in at right tackle now. I know this is square, but I like the Chiefs here. I don't trust these Ravens to get the blocking done. And when it comes down to it, if it's a close game in the fourth quarter, who do you trust to drive down the field? Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes? So maybe the Ravens keep it close and cover. I know they are very popular amongst the sharp style bettors. I think it's going to be one of those things where the ticket count's going to be 70% on the Chiefs, money count will be 70% on the Ravens. But like we mentioned earlier, just because you're on the side of the $20 Joes doesn't necessarily mean you're going to lose. So I like the Chiefs here. What do you think, man? Am I just SpongeBob SquarePants? What do you think?
I mean, I don't mind it, but I don't want to lay that 3.5 with them because I think our guy Twatty said it best with the Chiefs. They win games, they don't cover.
No, they don't.
I mean, we seen them when they played the Browns. They won that game, but never once were they looking like they were going to cover that game.
Never. Mm-mm.
I mean, would this game surprise you Sunday night if we're watching Baltimore just have their way for 3 quarters? And then here comes Kansas City to squeak out a win right at the end by 2.
I'll tell you what, it would surprise me because of this, right? Look at that Chiefs defense against the Browns. They weren't doing that good until, who's his name? Tristan Wirfs goes out, right? All of a sudden, Chris Jones turns into to Reggie White, right? And is in the backfield for every play. So what does that say to me? These guys are having problems beating top-level talent, but they absolutely destroy and bully their weaker counterparts. I think that you're getting an example of the weaker counterparts here, and you think that guy Villanueva is going to block is going to block Chris Jones Jr.? I mean, no. And plus, you'll get Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, back. So I like the Chiefs here. I could be square, but this is the prop show. Give me the
I think they win the game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just scared of that 3.5.
Yeah,
it's that short for a reason spread.
You got to be scared because how many dogs have we seen cover on these short spreads already? And that was something I was guilty of.
And lose the game outright.
Was overrating the favorites. Yeah. So I haven't made a bet on this yet. I'm just telling you, for our little pick 'em pool and stuff that we did, I took the Chiefs and I laid it. We'll see if money actually goes down. It'll probably depend on my Sunday morning results. But give me the props here, Tyler.
I mean, looking at the props, I mean, anytime touchdowns, Hill and Kelsey are priced out of the market already.
Of course.
But they haven't priced out Patrick Mahomes rushing touchdowns, and we all know if they get in the red zone and there's 5 yards in between him and the end zone, he'll run it in. So I don't mind that at plus 290.
Plus 290?
Yep.
All right.
I think that's definitely worth a shot.
Mm-hmm.
If touchdowns are over 2.5 at plus money, I also think that's worth a shot.
Okay.
And then looking at the receiving and everything for this team, I mean, I might have to go right back to Tyson Williams here on Sunday night. They said his rushing yards at 46.5. Mm-hmm. I mean, the dude had 60-some yards in the first half against Oakland on Monday night.
Wasn't that, I thought, one of the most inexplicable decisions by Harbaugh? Why did they go away from him?
I think he got banged up late in that game.
And Harbaugh just didn't want to say it? Because he acted like, oh, well, we're just trying to get reps. Hey, when the game's on the line, it's not time to get my third string guy reps.
There was a run in the third quarter. You seen him take a hit, and he kind of laid there for a second, and he popped back up, and then you seen him grab his arm.
Yeah.
And that was when everything he went to the sideline, and all of a sudden you had Murray in the backfield for almost the rest of the game. So I think he banged up his shoulder a little bit, and they were like, "We're gonna precautionary hold you out so we don't lose another running back."
And then Harbaugh doesn't want to let him know, so everybody's banging on his shoulder the next week. All right, so what's his number again? 46?
46.5. I think that's too low for a guy we just seen put up yards. And this Chiefs rush defense isn't all that good either.
No, it's not. I mean that's the way to beat them, right? Is to run the ball. I do like their ball hawking secondary. I do think they I think they did do it. So, all right. Did you have any more props for this game?
Now, the other one I was looking at, I mean, we've seen Darren Waller get targeted, 20 times on Monday night?
Yeah, I mean, it's just
the Chiefs have 2 guys on offense they're going to use in Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. Mm-hmm. Kelce's reception 7.5 plus or even money. I heard Brandon Cole talk about it on the live show last night. I'll give our guy a shout out, but I think that's definitely a winner.
Okay, I'm putting it in the chat right now. Kelce over 7.5 receptions. Yeah, and he talked to Peyton Manning about how he's just making up routes. Let's see what cool routes he can make up this week. Do we want to do Monday night now, or are we cool? Do we want to just do that on Monday?
No, we can do that on Monday. We
All
can
right,
go into like
we'll do Monday Night Football on Monday because we'll have plenty of time and we'll be going way deeper into the props. So since I got them in the chat, I'll try and read them all out. We got Deontay Johnson's over 6.5 receptions and an anytime touchdown and over 60.7 yards. One of the few places where we stack. Jalen Hurts over 291 yards rushing plus passing. Deebo Samuel over 58 yards and an anytime touchdown. Nick Chubb over 85 yards rushing. Kareem Hunt over 38 yards rushing. Austin Hooper anytime touchdown plus 260. Gordon, what game is this? Anytime
Denver.
touchdown. Melvin Gordon, anytime touchdown for the Broncos plus 400. Jameis Winston over 1.5 TDs. Hey, if I only have to make one bet this week, I think I might make that one, right? If you don't have the roll
I think
or
it's
just
the next
the pain
one you're gonna
tolerance,
say.
the McCaffrey over 42.5.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I like Jameis even more. But those are both great bets. So, hey, guys, I love that Tyler's giving us all these winners. Make sure to give Tyler his props in the chat and on Twitter. We like Cooper Kupp over 60.75 yards receiving. Nyheim Hines over 25.5 yards, over 3.5 receptions for Hines as well. Definitely like that one. We like Jalen Waddle plus 220 anytime TV. Miles Gaskins over 3.5 receptions. Najee Harris. Oh, no. This was Damian Harris. Anytime TD plus 25. Mack Jones under 31.5. Unders are always fun. Switch it up. We like Jamar Chase anytime touchdown plus 175. Jamar Chase over 4.5 receptions. Montgomery on the Bears over 16.5 yards rushing. Montgomery anytime TD. You gave out a ton of props, Tyler. Mike Evans over 54.5 yards receiving. Kyler Murray passing plus rushing plus 318 yards. Might get there just passing alone. DeAndre Hopkins, my number one receiver in the NFL, over 7.5 receptions. Chase Edmonds over 44.5 yards. That's the game script that Arizona gets it ahead and runs the ball into the ground. Seahawks Titans, we also think the Seahawks get ahead, run the ball. That gives us Carson over 60.8.5 yards rushing. DK Metcalf anytime TD. We didn't have the numbers, but anything to minus 110 is good. We like Eckler over 37.5 yards rushing. Eckler anytime TD. Eckler over 4.5 yards. And you guessed it, throw Eckler into your DraftKings. For the Chiefs Ravens, we got a Mahomes anytime TD plus 290 and Kelsey over 7.5 receptions. Everybody, thank you for hanging out. If you haven't already, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, please head on over to runpurebets.com. The best sports gambling information for your money, the best bang for your buck, only $60 a month. And if you use the promo code BETS25 off, you'll get $15 off your first month. So you can get in, join the Discord, join the plays, jump on Joey Works Baseball Heater. Thank you, Joey. That heater's keeping my heat on here this month. So I appreciate it, Joey. What a great job that you're doing. Tyler, do you have anything else for these fine people before we get out of here?
I do. I have one more play. I want your opinion on it.
Okay, let's hear it.
Who loses this parlay for us this week? Because
okay,
there's a lot of these spreads that aren't teasable with the numbers they're sitting on.
Right.
But a lot of these numbers are low enough to where you're catching these favorites under 2.5 or 2 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
So you could parlay two of them together and get even money.
Yeah.
But we're going to take 4 of them.
Okay.
The Chiefs beat the Ravens.
Okay.
Seahawks beat Titans.
Mm-hmm.
Patriots get their win back against the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
And the Rams go into Indy and win that game.
I think either the Rams or the Chiefs would be our issue.
Okay,
and those are 2 road teams going against teams that I think could potentially be undervalued because they look so bad in week 1. But overall, I like your parlay. I'm on every single side, including the points. Right?
Plus
because
320
I like the Chiefs to cover,
for that parlay. I mean,
that gives you the plus 320.
Yeah.
All right, I'm logging on right now. I'll put all the bets in the chat today.
Me personally, I don't see how that loses, but this is the NFL. We have seen some wild things, but
it's been a while.
I think this is the week where like your money line parlays come in.
Yeah. So, and give props to Joey Work in the chat, right? Daniel Jones definitely proved us wrong. So it's not like we haven't been wrong before, right?
And our guy Twatty's in the chat. He hit some winners on the live show last night.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. Twatty's a great guy. Definitely a great handicapper and our go-to guy for Pittsburgh Steelers doom and gloom information there. So, but now that Matt Canada's in there, maybe he's a lot happier as Fichtner's gone. And the new worst offensive coordinator in the league is Todd Downing of the Tennessee Titans. Way to ruin another high-powered offense, Todd. On that note, check out runpurebets.com. And thank you for joining us. Run Pure.